Order the City Council meeting of April 23rd, 2019. We please stand for the invocation and remain standing for the pledge.
God, our divine spirit, creator of all there is and ever shall be, we ask you to shine down your light upon our city, guiding everyone who makes decisions for our city to decide things for the highest good of our residents and our city. We ask you to bless our city, our state, and our country. For this we are thankful. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sal, can we have the roll call, please?
Vice Mayor William Dittmer.
Here.
Councilwoman Jenny Sorrell.
Here.
Councilman Richard Bloom. Here. Councilman Terrence Rowe. Let the record show that Councilman Terrence Rowe is not here tonight. City Attorney James Matthew. Here. City Manager Vincent Lupo.
Here.
Okay, we're looking for a motion to approve the council minutes.
Motion to approve the
Second.
council minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Let's now move to the general public. Mr. Thomas Brown.
Thomas Brown, 7436 Candlelight Court, Newport Richey, Florida, 34652, which is in the city of Port Richey. I would like to announce two city Port Richey anniversaries. This month marks the 6-month anniversary of the announcement that Orange Grove Avenue will be paved very soon. It hasn't started yet. This year is the 40th anniversary of the Billy Cox Clay Shake deal to annex the Candlelight subdivision into the city of Port Richey. It would not have been possible if Pasco County did not give a 2-acre lake that was in the new Port Richey to the city of Port Richey. You can't stay in Port Richey and drive to Candlelight from here, but it got annexed in anyway. I, for one, wish it could be annexed out. Thank you.
Reverend Lord.
Vice Mayor and Mr. Mayor and Council, I just want to give a report on the Easter egg celebration in Huntington Park Saturday. First of all, I want to thank our city manager and the rest of it making it possible to be out there. The weather was kind of held us back. We had better advertisement and communication than before, but I believe there was something like 80 children we ministered to, and I guess maybe 180, 200 people. I think I grilled about 25 pounds of sausage and about 100 hot dogs. We had 200 bags of candy to give out, and Volunteer Way brought a pallet, and we had all kinds to give out. But I do want to thank you all, and particularly allowing us to tell them what Easter is really about. It wasn't about the fairy tales of bunnies and eggs, but really there's a God that loved us. His son died and rose again and gives us all hope. So thank you. I appreciate it. One thing I do want to share is I'm a part of heading up the National Day of Prayer, and we would invite you to come out for the community if you could, and that will be May 2nd, a Thursday, from 12 to 1 if you can slip out, and it'll be over in front of the county building right by where the commissioners meet. So we would really be honored if you'd come and personally pray for you as we're going to be praying. Our theme this year is love one another. And just the thought to leave with you, I found, as the scripture says, that all wisdom is hid in God the Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. And if it says if we don't know this, we will get robbed by tradition and philosophy. So thank you for your big hearts, and we're here. We did help somebody last week, a connection with getting their power on so the kids could be taken care of. So if there's any way we can help serve, please let us know, and Lord bless you.
Thank you, Reverend. Mr. Lee.
Langley, 5713 Berlin. This is all old business, but I'll do it anyway. I wanted to know if we had done anything about getting the right turn lane cameras on Ridge Road, US 19 and North and Ridge Road. I haven't heard anything about the road easements in the Waterfront Overlay District, and I questioned a few meetings back. I also brought up about traffic control at Treadway and Bayview. Nothing's been done there. One of our other residents brought up about the number of dogs allowed at residences. We also need to follow up on the county dredging on Quist Canal. I was wondering, I know the city doesn't have any ordinance, but I was wondering if the city of Newport Richey has any ordinances governing the number of vehicles parked that are in front of a residence. And also, does the city of Newport Richey allow recreational vehicles to be parked in front of houses? At the December 11th City Council meeting, in this December 11th City Council meeting minutes, the city manager updated the city on projects. This is a quote: "The dog enjoyment and mini kayak launch design are in progress and will soon be brought to the council for review." Did this ever happen? The kayak launch has been built. And I also wondered if the council reviewed the plans for the renovation of the bathroom at Waterfront Park. And also, just a reminder, the FCT approved the dog enjoyment area in September of 2018 and the play area relocation on February 4th, 2019. Thank you.
Thank you. Sandra Spalding.
Sandra Spalding, 8612 Green Street. Well, I want to give my opinion about something. We have 3 people here on the council, and it's about time the 3 people on the council work together to temporarily fill the other 2 seats so we can get on with business a little better than what we're doing. Thank God that our city manager's running the city the way it should. But come on, let's not fool around anymore. Let's not have our own agenda. Let's work together for the highest good of the city. That's what you're up there for. So I do expect, Dr. Bloom, with all due respect, that you be a little bendable and work with the council. Thank you.
Jack Mariano.
Good evening. I've got a flyer here I could like to pass out, give you guys a little more information what I'm going to talk about, if that's okay?
Sure.
You know, a few years ago, we had the Restore Act Committee that met and allocated $667 to the city for dredging.
3 minutes.
Board approved it, and then last year, Quist Drive, when Hurricane Michael was coming in, after talking to the previous mayor, found that there was a big blockage that was there. We had an approval done, emergency done through the DEP, Swift Mud, and we got an approval to dredge out Quist Drive on both sides. We took out 4 truckloads of dirt. From that point, I've still been working, trying to find a way to try to get the rest of it cleaned out and get the rest of it funded. At this last storm, from a couple of residents that live above and below, they actually let me know that the outfall, which is part of why I thought we could get some help from the Swift Mud funding or even DEP funding, was because that outfall goes out into the Gulf. So in getting a little bit more information from some of the residents as well, I went out there during this past storm, and I noticed that to the very north, right below Bay Boulevard, that canal, Twist Drive Canal, the two canals below it, and even Gill Dogs all go out to the Gulf. Because of that release, I think it's very applicable for Swift Mud, for the state, to get involved and try to help fund this thing. Now, I had my staff this morning, we had a meeting at 8 o'clock this morning before the Board of County Commissioners, and they went out and they kind of measured the linear measurements of the channels 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. Now, 15 is something we already got a price on, that's the Quist Drive one, and the price to dredge that channel was at $154,000. When I looked at that number, I think that's probably that's got the most silt and debris in it, that if the others were the same, I could use those same numbers to go forward. So the numbers I'm going to show on the very last page kind of shows you, going based upon the linear feet, what the cost would be to do each channel. Now, channel, like I say, 15 is there, 18 is there. If you look at that amount of money of $747,000, the Gill Dog channel's already in there. If we took that one out, that might match up pretty close to, depending on an actual survey and pricing goes, you might have $677,000 for a number. If you could then take that Restore Act money, use that for matching money, and include these in maybe a changing of the application, we may be able to get SwiftMud or DEP to match that money, and now you can dredge 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18, and maybe the other two that you have on your list. I'd like to work with you to try to get this done. I will tell you, the head of DEP had called me last week, returning one of my calls to try to do this. He gave me support. He says, Jack, we need a plan. The head of SwiftMud called me Friday, actually yesterday, and told me, look, we want to try to help you, but we need a plan. So I think with what you've got in place and with your permits that you have in place from DEP and the Army Corps, we got a pretty good leg up to get this done, and probably very expediently. And I think we could stretch your dollars twice as far, and it could leave even better things down the road. So if the council could have someone designated to work with me, I'd be happy to work with you, the state and the county, and try to make this happen for you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jack. We'll move on to the comments from the city manager.
Yes, Council. I'll pass out these. And what I'm showing City Council, and you have become used to it, is our Port Richey average daily flows. And it shows the production from our wells. It shows the amount of water that we purchase. It shows the amount of water that's utilized in backwash, and then the amount of water that's recovered. And if you'll take a look at the charts, these are the first 2 years in total, and this is our series of productions up and through this month. Our production is up, our costs are down, our recovery is up. So we are moving forward to not only save water, but to produce water of a superior quality and distribute it at an extremely affordable rate. Our rate is one of the lowest in the state. And this is the yearly look. This is years 15 and 16, and then the modifications that were made in 17 and 18. And you can see the dramatic changes that we have elicited in our water production and distribution, which allowed this city council to not increase water rates for the last 2 years, and very possibly reconsider that during the coming budget cycle. I can tell you that we are, in our next reports, that we are just about completed with the certification of well number 7, which we expect by this coming September 30th, which will turn a monitoring well into a full production well. So these numbers have every possibility of increasing, allowing this council and this community a better look at its utility operation. Pass out the reports that are requested. And this will answer some of the questions that were raised by some of the citizens. with respect to the Restore Act and the dredging of channels 1, 18, and 26A. As you well know, we have opened those bids and reviewed the bids, and they have been transmitted up to the county for the county's review and county's engineers review and our engineers reviews. So the dredging of channels 1, 18, and 26A is in progress. As soon as we receive the final information, we'll come back to council for council's final action. We'll be undergoing a utilities rate study, which I hope to bring to council sometime during the latter part of the budget cycle. With respect to Pasco County and Orange Grove Avenue, I'm very pleased to say that I spoke with Mr. Caldwell of the county's engineering section, his project manager, and it is scheduled by the county to begin this July. So we've finally come all the way around circle, taken the long way around. The county has finally, after the county commissioners opened their bids and allowed for the county to utilize those bids, Orange Grove is part of the scheduled for repairs this coming July. It'll be from Orange Grove all the way down to Grand Boulevard. Also of import is the bike and hike underpass. The bike and hike underpass will be having a special meeting in May undertaken by the county and Newport Richey and us to begin the process of the redesign of the underpass under 19. We've just completed, and you're certainly welcome to take a look, the refurbishment of the waterfront parks. That will be completed in total. In fact, it's done today, but it will be done officially by April 30th of this year. We recently received a grant from Subway, Firehouse Subway, for our our fireboat. Approximately $38,000 to provide a special boat to assist us once we acquire it, to help with fires that may occur that will need that fireboat. Also, we received a small grant from Walmart towards that effort, and a small grant from Walmart towards for the police department. And if you'll take a look, there are some handouts out front that you certainly are welcome to take with you on the way out. We're very proud to show a section of the kind of work that our fire department is doing with respect to our citizens in the manner of protecting them, and also in the utilization of the smoke detectors that we have been installing. And basically, that's the basic end of this report. If council has any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
Any questions? Let's move on to City Council. Any questions?
Yes, can we have start the department reports it back up next month?
I'm sorry?
At the next meeting, can we have the police department, fire department, and the building department?
Certainly.
Reports again?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I have some.
Please.
Fireboat sounds like a great idea. The fire's gonna probably have to be at high tide. Anyway, we're all aware of our prior attempt to nominate a temporary council person for Mr. Dittmer's seat. We're aware that failed at the prior meeting. 7 residents, at the request of Councilman Dittmer, now acting mayor, presented their 3-minute bios to the council on 4/4/2019. On page 7 of the April 4th, 2019 minutes, it states the following, and I quote, "The council considered each citizen's presentation. Councilwoman Sorrell nominated Janet Eckerman. Janet Eckerman's nomination failed for lack of a second. Councilman Bloom nominated Joseph Parisi. Joseph Parisi's nomination failed for lack of a second. Councilman Ditmore passed the gavel to Councilman Sorrell. Councilman Ditmore nominated Todd McClary. Todd McClary's nomination failed for a lack of a second. Ms. Sorrell accused me of holding the city hostage because I would not second her nominee, Janet Eckerman, or Mr. Ditmore's nominee, Todd McClary. Ms. Sorrell, I presume, wanted me to abandon my nominee, who's sitting here tonight, Joe Parisi, who's a retired lieutenant with the Chicago Police Department. He's the vice president of the Marina Palms HOA, and he was the only resident in this city who filed papers to run for the city council, the 3-year term, in this last election. But unfortunately, due to a technical error, he was disqualified. So if Ms. Sorrell considered me holding the city hostage by not seconding her nominee or Mr. Ditmer's nominee, then doesn't it stand to reason that based on her reasoning, since she and Mr. Ditmer refused to second my nominee, they too are guilty of holding the city hostage. Should Mr. Ditmer's nominee, Todd McClary, sit on the city council? Well, the public can be the judge of that. On page 6 of the minutes, 4/4/2019, those minutes, Todd McClary, I quote, Todd McClary, 8731 Betty Street, he recommended to council to move forward with dismissal. That's Councilman Terry Rowe's, prior Councilman Terry Rowe, his dismissal. I received a letter, an email and a letter from a resident, a neighbor of the McClarys. And the threatening text, and it states to Todd and Sherry McClary, the threatening text, you either in or out, was sent from Sherry McClary's cell, followed by the succeeding events outlined in the letter. And he goes on to describe who he is, this neighbor. I'm a USMC combat veteran, an active Delta pilot. I've never seen such arrogance, harassment, and abuse of city resources in my lifetime. Then I received a letter from a law firm, the law firm of Mindrup and Samol. And it says, please be advised that my office has been retained by the neighbor relative to the neighbor dispute, which based on my understanding began on or about December 31st, 2018, with a text message sent to my client stating, inter alia, either you're in or out, John. Following the text communication, a series of events have occurred. A number of complaints made to local law enforcement, including a February 8, 2019 complaint, a noise complaint to the Port Richey Police Department. This is the McClarys filing these complaints. February 25th, 2019, ordinance violation to the police. March 11th, 2019, animal complaint to the police. March 16th, 2019, noise complaint to the police. All these complaints were unfounded. As such, these complaints appeared to be made with the purpose of inflicting emotional distress rather than for legitimate reasons. Among others were numerous complaints made to the local code enforcement agency regarding lawn maintenance, dock size, dogs, tarps, and building materials. Several government employees have investigated these complaints, and absent a certain notice of violation with a 7-day grace period to cure, the code enforcement has not found the neighbor's property to be in violation of any ordinance. Again, with such complaints made after the aforementioned text communication, it seems that such accidents evince malice and are intent to cause as much grief and emotional distress as possible. Earlier this year, a certain telephone call was placed to the attorney client's, the neighbor's employer. The contents of that telephone call established a prima facie case of defamation, specifically slander per se, as the false statements made to the neighbor's employer were repugnant to his profession as a well-represented commercial pilot. Such statements, which included false statements that the neighbor takes and or sells illegal and prescription drugs and engages in insurance fraud, are injurious to his profession. So I ask, Mr. Dittmer nominated Todd McClary at the previous meeting. And I ask, should Mr. McClary, given his actions and behavior, should he sit on this council? You be the judge. Should Ms. Sorrell's nominee, Janet Eckerman, sit on the council? You can be the judge of that as well. Currently, Ms. Eckerman, who apparently has lived in the city for many years, whom I understand has rarely, if ever, participated in the government, is currently spearheading the signing of petitions to recall Terry Rowe. This city's residents, and I think everybody can agree, have suffered enough humiliation, mental anguish, and pain and suffering over the events that have recently transpired. So I don't feel that a potential council person should facilitate and fuel more of the same. Should Ms. Sorrell's nominee, Janet Eckerman, sit up here on city council? It was clear that Ms. Sorrell and Mr. Dittmer's modus operandi was to elect a council person who was aligned with their philosophical approach as it related to Mr. Rowe. And that was simply to remove him from council. I did not believe then, and I don't believe now, that that was the best course of action or in the best interest of the city. Literally all that matters is that Mr. Rowe's seat is temporarily, occupied during his absence, so we can have a full council. Time will tell if he will remain as a council person. That time should be restricted, or respected rather, via the legal process or by his own decision. Mr. Rowe's removal or non-removal will have absolutely no effect or bearing on the functioning of this council. A special election is set for my council seat on September 10th, or it's proposed to be set for September 10th. This came down from the supervisor of elections. I recommend Mr. Rowe's seat be included in that election with the understanding it's a temporary assignment. This approach will allow the residents to vote for their candidate. It will take it out of the nomination, it will take out of the prejudiced and biased council members' hands, and it will obviate the need for a recall. Now, Mr. Lupo, in all due respect, sir, every council meeting, you bring to this council an agenda of items for our consideration and approval, which we do comply with. Essentially, you get what you requested. You can look at the consent agenda today. There are a number of items listed on here, and more likely than not, they will get approved by the council. I've sat up here for a year. I don't recall ever anybody not approving the consent agenda. However, on the other hand, council does not get what it asked for. And let me be specific. Number one, the council voted to move the handicap playground a number of months ago many months ago, a number of months ago. It was taken down, it's in some storage facility, I guess, and it's my understanding this has not been accomplished. It has not been reinstalled where the council voted to reinstall it. You're not making these handicapped children very happy. Number two, council some months ago voted where the dog run area was to be placed, and it has not been constructed to the best of my knowledge. Number three, get to it. Recently, council voted for you to complete a flooding analysis. I brought a three-part motion here. A flooding analysis of the city. I presented a three-part motion. It was approved by this council for you to identify the homes and streets and culverts and pipes and ditches that don't function properly, to identify the remedies and the costs, and we have not heard a word about that problem, that issue. Number four, council voted many months ago to have movies in Waterfront Park. One was scheduled in December but got rained out. It's my understanding there have not been any subsequent movies scheduled for the children, and I don't believe it was council's intent when they voted to have movies at Waterfront Park just to have one movie. So why penalize the children? And number five, we recently inquired about the grant monies that we established to assist people who could not afford to comply with minimum housing standards. We asked for a dollar figure that had been spent, how much money was left, so that we might retailer that project to the second tier level without them having to contribute that $1,000. What this appears to be is a one-way street. You come here with a consent agenda, the council approves it, but it's time to level the playing field. I will not second nor vote on any agenda item you bring to council until those items that I have described, items 1 through 5, that playground gets installed, that dog run gets installed. You cannot procrastinate any longer. It has to be done. The council has asked you to do it. We voted on it. It needs to be done. The ball is in your court. Simply give us what we voted for, and that you will be able to get things that you want. One last item. You can count on my vote to continue the payroll of the employees of this city. Nobody should have to work for nothing. I'm through.
Ms. McCleary?
Councilman Dittmeyer, I appreciate Mr. Bloom starting.
Mr. McCleary, name and address, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. Todd McCleary, 8731 Betty Street. The subject of Mr. Bloom's diatribe for a while. I appreciate him starting the election early with a smear campaign. Had he done a little bit of research into the letter with his own department, he would have found that numerous citations were issued to the person that Mr. Bloom is concerning in his letter. He was issued numerous warnings, and a lot of that letter, or actually all of that letter that Mr. Bloom, it was a cease and desist letter of private between the neighbor and myself, but Mr. Bloom has chosen to make it public. And I appreciate that. However, he never did any background on it whatsoever. And the majority of that letter, actually all of that letter, is in fact false, misleading, and slanderous, actually. And now Mr. Bloom has in fact taken the election to increase the slander on myself and my wife. And it's really disgusting that Mr. Bloom is starting out a mayoral election with nothing but a smear campaign, and then holding 5 items that he has stayed quiet on until this point because he doesn't want to actually proceed further with a voting of a new councilman to replace a seat or anything of that nature. So he decides to take 5 items out of the blue that he's never mentioned before and all of a sudden hold this town hostage or the city hostage. So I really do appreciate him starting out the election with a smear campaign and also holding the city hostage. Thank you very much.
Ms. Beckman.
Sherry McClary, 8731 Betty Street. In addition to what my husband said, this letter was sent to every resident in the vicinity of where we live. It was sent to 8711 and it was sent to 8717. So this gentleman who had tried to sell drugs to all of us, and we have it on tape recording as well as visual. He has also done other harassing things to us, which have been witnessed and documented. And the wonderful Port Richey Police, who I commend multiple times for their great service, has witnessed some of these things themselves. So before that letter was declared here in this court, in this vicinity here, it should have been followed up with our retort back to that attorney, because clearly all of the residents that were around 8723 Betty Street, from where the complaint came, responded to that attorney with definitive proof of the falsifications in that letter. And we do not appreciate being slandered here in this room. We are utmost citizens with the most honest integrity to do right by this city. Thank you.
Please hold your applause. No applause, please. Mr. Colombo?
Bill Colombo, 7810 Chesco Street. I was only going to speak to one item, but I will speak to 2. I don't believe that Mr. McClary is putting his name forward tonight, since he has declared for mayor, to fill a council seat. So I find the recitation against him essentially campaigning from the dais, and we all know you're not supposed to do that. It was rather cleverly done, but I frankly don't like to see that, and I do not think it was a proper thing to do. Secondly, the one constructive piece of information I could pass along, since you are considering a member to sit up there, is that from last meetings and thinking about it, it seems to be that y'all are under the impression that everybody gets one nomination and that's it. And that's not the way it works. You can nominate and nominate and nominate. You can nominate 3 people at a time if you want to. You do not just get one nomination, that's it. The other person nominates that's it, and the agenda item is over. So I would suggest tonight, as we have always done in the past, we have always, if we had multiple nominations for one seat, we would essentially nominate all 3 and then vote them out. And I would wish that you would consider that. Let's fill this seat. Let's get a more functional council with more people up there. More will get done, and we will move forward. Thank you very much.
All right, let's move on to boards and committees. Do we have anybody? Oh, excuse me, Pat.
Pat Rogers, 4838 Sunset Boulevard. I would just like to update Mr. Bloom on the fact that Mr. Parisi was not the only person to ever run for council that asked to fill this vacancy. I ran for council in 2005, did a full campaign, lost by 2 votes, and subsequent, my husband's health took a really bad turn, and I was not able to participate in a lot of city business. But now I'm back, I'm retired, I have the ability to put my full-time attention to this, and I would like to be considered for the vacant seat until special elections or the regular elections are held.
Thank you, Pat. All right, now, do we have any news from the boards and committees?
Good evening. Claudia Smith, 7335 Candlelight Court. I am here on behalf of the Citizens Advisory Committee. I'd like to give you a report of what we have going on right now. We have an employee appreciation lunch on Thursday from 12 to 2. You're all invited. The community came out. We went to the community and said, can you give us food? Can you give us money? And they answered the call. And I'm going to go real brief of who contributed. Shark Bites is going to feed the firehouse. They're going to coordinate it with them and deliver them lunch on Thursday. Olive Garden, Chili's, LA Nails, Tropical Breeze Cruise, The Bait Shack, New Attitude Hair Salon, Robert's Smoke and Barbecue, Alex's Place, the Paperback Exchange, Walmart, WGO, which is the Burks, and the Marlarkeys. So everyone stepped up, and it should be a great luncheon, and please come if you can. Second of all, the citizens our committee has come together. We are going to have a citizens meet and greet. Whiskey River has agreed to host it, and it will be on May 15th from 5:30 to 7. It will be completely nonpartisan, and it will be simply a meet and greet your neighbors. We're trying to bring people together as one, despite some of what is going on. We also have 3 members short on our committee, and we would like to fill those 3 seats if possible. I believe there is one person that is expressed interest to the city clerk, and I believe it is on your agenda today to vote for someone, so we would like to have that person voted in. We do have others that are interested, and we're asking them to let the city clerk know where we can go forward. We have 4 mini libraries that are, we have 3 that are built, and we have 1 that is being built. We have 4 locations that we would like your approval. These are locations that the ones that have been commissioned have requested. One is Wilmslow Park, the other is Olsener Park. There's someone that wants one in Waterfront Park, and then one that wants it at Mallet Fish Pier. We would like your approval to put those mini libraries in. So if you can, I would like you to vote on that tonight where we can keep moving on this. The one that is at the dog park has been very successful. We have had a lot of comments in the community, and I check on it periodically. Books are coming and going, and so I think it's really been good for the community. Can you vote on this for us tonight?
Mr. Lupo's I know it's not an agenda item, but we can put it on the agenda so we can get it done.
Okay, we do need that done
We'll
as
put that
soon
on
as
the agenda.
possible. We
It'll
can
be
move
on the
along.
agenda.
Okay, and I would like to also commend Blaine Lee. Mr. Lee has been instrumental. Lori Simpson is the one that came up with the idea of the mini libraries, but Blaine Lee built the first one. As you know, he brought it here and showed it to you, and he's done a really fine job, so we appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, we'd like to move on to the consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Looking for a second. Okay, consent agenda fails due to a lack of a second.
Did you do the minutes? Did you do minutes? Did you approve?
Yes, we did.
Sorry.
All right.
Mr. Mayor, I was not going to speak, but I would like to provide this information publicly to Councilman Bloom, if it would allay some of the issues, and to be able to move normal city business forward. With respect to the 5 issues that you brought forward, sir, please recognize that the Public Works Department consists of approximately 8 individuals, and there are certain priorities that have to be placed because of funding grants and funding requirements. The handicap playground, which is initially approved by previous councils, altered by an existing council to be relocated, required us to go back to the FCT to acquire permission for the relocation of that park. We eventually did. We attempted to obtain additional funds or to relocate the funds to that, and it was rejected. In the meantime, the same exact issue occurred with the new dog park. It was originally located, approved, and then council, because of the movement of the handicap playground, it had to be relocated and submitted back up to the FCT for their approval. In the meantime, we were running at a funding requirement deadline for this month to complete the refurbishment of the Waterfront Park bathroom facilities. I diverted all of our attention in order to complete the brand-new refurbished Waterfront Park bathroom facilities, which in fact were utilized by the children during the Easter eggs, and I think it was quite successful considering what the previous facility was. So the manpower was relocated in order to accomplish that goal, which allowed us to be reimbursed for the construction of that facility. Now that that has been completed, it is our intention to move forward with the first and second project. So that is the reasoning behind the delay on the first and second projects. With respect to the multi-pronged flood analysis that you presented to council and the council agreed to go forward with, we have in fact contacted an engineering company to come up with some of the responses. We have tasked the police department to come up with some of the flooding locations, and we have brought on board a new chief building official who will also be assisting us in doing that. So we can only do things with the amount of people and time that's allocated to us. Now, with respect to the movies, I am at a loss. I believe that the initial progress as far as movies were concerned was with that specific location at Christmas time. To that end, we had in fact rented the inflatable screen. We bought the license for a movie to be utilized for that event. The storm made that impossible. So we do have the license for that one single movie, and we would definitely move forward if I understood, or if my people understood, that it was your intent to have events sponsored by whom or by the city to divert whatever staff we had left to run that. So if that is council's intention, we can certainly consider it. But please understand, we have limited staff. We don't have a full media production operation to go out and do those kinds of events. Now, and with respect to your fifth issue, with respect to grants, I have in my hand that report. And I will be more than happy to distribute to, but I would like to read some of it to you so that you'll understand exactly that we are in fact involved in completing your request. This is the list of every single individual who received a grant, and their grants are in process, all 18 of them. 10 of them for 10 total applications for $7,425. Total applications completed and paid 8, totaling that $7,425. These were over the income threshold. Applications under the threshold, total applications 8, totaling $7,709.92. Total applications completed and paid 5, totaling $5,709.92. Total applications applied, 15, totaling $14,134.92. We've paid 13, totaling $13,134.92, and I have denied one application for fault. So that is the report that I intended to distribute, but have not. I'll make sure that it is memorialized and distributed to council. And that is the answer that I have for the 5 questions that you rose. With respect to the agenda itself, we prepare the agenda based on issues brought to us by either emergencies or by daily requirements, such as paying employee payroll taxes, employee health and dental, Florida risk management, quarter repair. These are common municipal governmental actions that take place. Common municipal government actions that generally take place, and that is why it is on a consent agenda. Other issues below that are council business, which council brings forward. Originally, the agenda was the sole priority of the city manager, but former Councilman Rowe and council concurred to allow any council person to place anything they wanted on the agenda. And since that request, I have placed anything that council wants on the agenda. The agenda is not a sacrosanct item. It is an open working document. And as long as we receive it within the proper amount of time in order to be able to disseminate it, it's on the agenda. So I sincerely apologize if there's some misunderstanding or if through my error or omission, I have not brought back these specific issues that I've outlined or better explained to you the necessity for the split in labor in order to accomplish certain functions to allow us to be reimbursed in accordance with those grants. And that involves both the children's handicap playground area, the dog park, and the wash stations, restroom remedies. As far as movies are concerned, if it's council's intent, we'll certainly look into the possibility of having movie events. And that's the only thing that I have to say to you, and I would sincerely hope that you reconsider your position with respect to normal day-to-day business consent agendas.
You want to rebuttal, Mr. Mayor?
Please.
I'm more than happy to reconsider on the consent agenda how I'm more than happy to reconsider the consent agenda, but we're going to need from you drop-dead dates to complete these projects. You heard a resident up here earlier, Mr. Lee, and he comes up here all the time. Mr. Brown comes up here all the time, and they want to know, why is this not done? What's going on with this? What's the problem? How come it hasn't gotten finished? How come it's not done, okay, completed? So if you're willing to give us some dates, this council, Mr. Didmer and Mr. Rowe voted for this. When that handicap playground will be installed, when the dog run area will be installed, when we'll have a complete analysis of the flooding problem that exists in this city, and something in finite with respect to events in the park for movies. I have no problem reconsidering the consent agenda, my action on the consent agenda. But it's just continual procrastination, and it's one thing after another, and it just keeps going and going and going. You don't need us up here. You just bring in, do whatever you want to do, but We vote for things, but they don't get done.
Councilman, I'm more than happy to associate dates and times with respect to a completion of a requested activity. As far as the activity and those dates and time are something that we indeed can control, I will be more than happy to associate dates to them, and if in fact there are issues that exacerbate or alter that timeline, I'll be more than happy to come back to council so that you understand that it is not just going out and buying something from Lowe's and simply turning around and going and building it, that there is a certain series of governmental procedures that I must follow, that my staff must follow in order to accomplish that goal. But I'll be more than happy to put those dates and times for the general public to see. I have no problem with that, sir.
We've had approval from the FCT for quite some time.
It depends on what the, sir, that depends on exactly what was presented to FCT. And then it also depends upon other interference from individuals who call directly to FCT to make exacerbated claims and charges that further exacerbate our relationship with the FCT. But as far as the FCT is concerned, and I just explained the rationale behind delaying the operation for the handicap park and for the dog run, because I had to complete, by funding deadline, I had to complete the restroom facilities in order to obtain the funds to pay for them as part of the grant. That has been completed as of today, I believe. We'll move forward on the very next project. We'll get estimates of the time that's involved. We'll put a hard date, and we'll give you the hard date. I have no problem whatsoever with doing that, sir.
Okay. I mean, if you'll commit right here at this meeting.
I've committed, sir.
To hard dates, that we'll get things done, that we consider and vote on and take our time and research these projects and read and listen, you'll give us some hard dates that you will complete these projects by.
To the best of our ability and with your full knowledge of what those dates entail, yes, sir.
Okay. Well, I can't ask for any more.
Thank you, sir.
I'll second the consent agenda.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Move on to council business. This is regarding the vice mayor and forfeiture of his seat. We're looking for a motion to move forward with notifying Mr. Rowe of the forfeiture of his seat.
I'd like to make a motion that we should notify Mr. Rowe of fortifying his seat so the city may move forward.
We're looking for a second. No second. Motion dies for lack of a second. Once again, we table this to our next meeting.
Yes, sir.
Move on to the nomination appointment to fill the vacant council seat. We're looking for a motion or a nomination.
I'll nominate Joe Parisi.
We're looking for a second for Mr. Parisi. No second. Dies for a lack of a second. Let's move forward to consider the dates of the special election set by the County of the Board of Elections for prominent of September 10th, 2019. Should I address that, Jim?
I'll take it, thank you. Excuse me. All you're doing here is approving the date. This will be for the special election for Dr. Bloom's seat.
Yeah.
The reason the date is out in September is the resignation doesn't go into effect until June 18th. We just want to reserve the date. The vacation of the seat, the resignation hasn't gone into effect yet. Generally, it takes 3 months. you need time to advertise, you then have a qualifying period, and then you have an appropriate amount of time for running for the office, and then the election, so it always takes 3 months. But I was hesitant to wait until June 18th to do this. We may have another election coming in there, perhaps. So I asked Mr. Corley so we could do it as quickly as possible to give us a date. So I'm just looking for approval of the date of September 10th.
Motion to
Council.
approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Changes to the draft ordinance for the WOD.
I'll do that. A couple of meetings ago, there was, council wanted a draft of the ordinance, so I brought a draft in, and then there was some changes. The easiest way to explain this is, if you look at the first page there, it says 35 in the right-hand corner. And just to refresh your memories, you'll see that this section is here are activities that are not permitted within the WOD. Okay, so we took out the gas station or fueling station, and we took out the outside vehicle or vessel storage. I had a conversation, correct me if I made a mistake, Mr. Foss. By taking those two out, you could have a full marina there, as I call it. And then there was some conversation about limiting the size of the structure. So what I did was I added any structures in excess of 40 feet is something you can't have. So that would limit it to 40 feet. And I think Mr. Foss, that was Mr. Foss's suggestion. And so that's where it stands. Unless you want to make any other changes, I'll bring it back for a reading.
So, Mr. Mayor?
Please.
I thought that we were going to speak with the business owners in the district, get their input. I think you, well, you.
We actually had that meeting where they came in. That's when she spoke to the fuel issue.
Yeah, well, it was that one person, but I'm talking about, did we get any input from the restaurants, the Guild Dogs and the other restaurants in that area there as to what they would like perhaps to see? And then the other thing that I believe we were looking at was getting a planner involved to develop that the overlay district in terms of lighting and sidewalks and benches and perhaps one-way streets and parking, because if you do this and you want to add to that based on an overall plan down there and the business interests, I think you're just might have to end up changing all this again.
Yeah, but I believe the reason we went forward with this is so we can get that marina and the things that they want to so they can start moving forward. There's other items may take some time, and there was no reason to hold them hostage while they waited for this. So we were pushing this forward so they could move ahead.
Okay, if that was the intent, then so they could move forward just based on this, then.
We may have to change it down the line, yes.
I think that we should get their input and maybe have a planner go down there and draw up something, what it would look like improved. And then based on what they draw and then the input from the businesses, we may have to take out some more of these prohibitions, or may not, I don't know. But I think we'll have to revisit it at some point.
I think we will have to revisit, but these are the obstacles that were holding up these people right now. So we thought we could move ahead and let them move forward, and we can address the other obstacles as they come up.
Okay, well, if that was the objective, then that's fine.
Okay. So do we need a motion to move forward, or just a draft?
Consensus for me to bring it back as a first reading?
Yeah.
Because you're not voting on it now, you're
No,
going to come
right.
back. So,
Right.
does everybody want to bring it back?
Yes.
Doc, you good with that?
Yeah.
You good? You good with that, Chuck?
I'm struggling with the gas station and the fueling station thing in that area. I mean, it would have to be proved to me that that's not gonna cause a big problem. And then sticking a marina in that one little area that they're right there, I'm not sure it's gonna fit in with the theme of the area all that well. So I'm not sure that's what the people would want to have in their waterfront area. That's my big concern.
Can I ask Councilman Sorrell a question. When you say the people, you mean the businesses down there or the residents in the city or
I'm
both?
thinking more the residents. The businesses are doing just fine, but I'm really more concerned about what the residents want in the waterfront area, because this is where they live. This is gonna affect them. Do they want a marina right there? I'm not sure that they want a marina right there.
Some may need it to store boats. You don't know. Okay, I just wanted to ask if your opinion, was it for the businesses or the residents or both?
For the residents?
Well, we can, any of the residents want to speak on this?
Once you put it to a
Oh.
vote, then make it an actual vote, and you bring the residents up once the vote's
Okay.
made. Motion to approve or disapprove. Motion to
I
bring it
can't
back for
motion.
first reading, and then you can have input.
Then we're looking for a motion to bring it back for the first reading.
Technically, the public gets to speak to an issue once a motion's on the floor. So if you wanted somebody to make a motion to approve it or disapprove it, then you bring up the public input.
Yeah, it's
Make a motion.
motion to approve,
Bring it back
motion
for
to
a
bring
first
it back
reading.
for a first reading. And let the residents discuss it at that time.
Second for discussion.
Second for discussion
Okay.
from the residents.
All right, we have to do all in favor then? Aye.
All right.
Now can we bring the public? Ma'am?
Well, you didn't vote on the motion, you just
Oh.
voted, bring the public, you're not
Oh.
voting on to bring it back, I presume you just want to bring up.
We just want it.
input of-
We do. Please.
Beth Piper, 6520 Ridge Road. Ms. Rowell, I want to remind you yet again, okay, I'm not asking for a marina. I have a marina. We bought that property as a working marina back in 1998. Since then, and before we bought that property, we have been paying a city business tax for a marina every single year. It is a marina. What we would like to do is to make it a working marina. Have you been down there? Have you driven down to look at it? Okay, right now, there's nothing. And it's hard to look at. So if we could get these two things approved, then we can move forward to develop that property, make it look pretty, make it fit in with the waterfront. We're not talking about just your metal high and dries. We're talking about making it look like condos, making it look like a beachfront something, making it look good. So, as far as what everybody wants, I already have that. I just want to fix it. I want to make it look better. So again, I want you, and then, you know, if you want to look at the city records and see that it is a marina and that we have been paying for a marina all these years, you can, because that's the way it is. So, you know, we would just like to move forward in making the property a working property. And we have spoken with field ops. We have spoken with catches. People are, the businesses down there are okay with it. As a matter of fact, one business owner down there would have purchased that property from us to put in a marina if it wasn't for these two items right there. So as far as the businesses, I don't think we're gonna have a problem. I just wanna remind you, I'm not asking you for permission for a marina because I have one. What I need is these two items to make it a working piece of property, and I appreciate your consideration on that. Thank you.
Ms. Spalding?
Just an idea. I don't know if we'll go along with this, but maybe if you brought the plans on what you want to put there for the boats to be stored, and the council can see it, it might just.
I totally agree with you, Sandra, and we're gonna hire an architect, we're gonna do it right, we're gonna present a business plan. If we need to come before council and do a presentation, we will. However, we're not gonna make that investment as long as we don't know that we can do it or not, because it's very costly to do that.
Maybe we can find a way to be a little bit bendable on that, where if you just could sketch it out or something without, just so to give the council an idea.
We need an architect to go in there and tell us
Okay.
that X amount of units at whatever it is.
Sandy?
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I am.
My bad. But anyway, maybe if you had a meeting and talked and went down to see it and saw what they wanted to do, it would enlighten you a little bit more on what she wants and bendability on both sides.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Caitlin?
Hello, everybody. Caitlin Overbeck, Harbor Isles. I also understand, Jenny, I appreciate, and Will, and Mr. Bloom. My concern with the approving of gasoline or whatever that we're talking about is if we're approving it for her, which I agree it is a sore site, the marina that she's talking about, and it does need improvement, is are we approving it for everybody? So when we go to do this, we're not doing it on one property, we're doing it for everybody. So technically, we could have multiple marinas, we could have increased traffic. I think that when we consider this, which I think that we should do something with this area, it's blighted, that we should take into consideration that when we are changing one thing on this, that we're changing it for everybody. And maybe we can just do it for her. I don't know what the rules and implications are, but a variance of some sort, something that it's not affecting everybody's property and opening the floodgates for Waterfront District.
I don't believe that is opening because they would have to bring it to council to get approval, and it can be just disapproved at that time. So it's not opening a flood, not everybody can just move in there and sell gasoline.
Well, okay, because
So,
I talked to City Hall, and they said that when we did approve this, it would be an ordinance, so everybody would be able, it would be across the board. It would be removing a layer off of, am I right here, Jocelyn?
It makes it available to do it, but does not mean council will pass or approve that to be done.
Okay. A little sticky still.
Mr. Colombo?
Bill Colombo, 7810 Cheska Street. I'm a little, if you, perhaps somebody can clarify for me, if you change the waterfront overlay district restrictions, permitted, non-permitted uses, permitted, non-permitted uses, it does apply to everybody. Of course, certain things, certain allowances, variances are allowed, some aren't. You can't just say, I want to build a SpaceX rocket launch center down in Waterfront Overlay District and apply for a variance. It just doesn't work. It would seem to me, and this is just a suggestion, the overriding concept of the Waterfront Overlay District, which is stated right in the very beginning of it, is that new things that happen down there should be activity generators, which I interpret to mean allowing the public access to waterfront. If this particular facility incorporated into its design some public access to the waterfront, some sort of boardwalk, some sort of area that could be used for the public, I think it might be more amenable to folks who essentially look at what might be a facility that restricted public access to the waterfront, which is pretty much, we don't have that much linear footage of waterfront in a waterfront overlay district to block off a significant portion of it to public access and city citizen access, kind of like flies against the overriding concept behind a waterfront overlay district. So just a couple of comments there. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor? Isn't that property, private property right now?
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, there's no public access.
Doesn't have to be.
Pardon me?
Does not have to be.
Correct.
Yep.
It's a moot point.
All right. Let's move forward with the consideration of the contract award for the U.S. Oh, sorry.
So the motion on the floor is to bring this back for first reading. And just so everybody, we had a second for discussion, it came up, that's the motion. This will come back for a first reading, then if it can be turned down at the first reading, or if it passes, it'll then go out for advertising and a second reading, right? That's the motion that's on the floor.
Yeah,
Motion's on the floor.
So we still need a second.
She seconded it for discussion, that's how you got the.
All right, and all in favor?
Doesn't she have to second the motion?
She seconded it by, for discussion.
With discussion.
That's what brought in the input. She already did second it.
Okay.
So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against.
Against? Nay.
Motion passes.
Motion.
Passes.
It passes.
Oh, you voted?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Okay. Next item is the consideration of bid rejection for the Washington Street Pavement Supplemental Project. We're looking for a motion.
You missed one.
Nope. Did I?
US 19
US Highway,
landscaping.
median landscape.
Meeting landscape
Oh,
grant.
yep. Sorry about that.
I'll take that one.
Yes, Mr.
Yep.
Ms. Martinez, please.
As City Council will recall, the city has received a $300,000 grant from the Florida Department of Transportation to landscape the medians on US Highway 19. We have so far, of that grant award, spent $30,000 on landscape architect design work, designing the plans. We bid this project out in March for a public bid. We received 2 bids back. One from Morelli Landscaping and one from Green Construction Technologies. Our landscape architect reviewed the bids, and her recommendation is Morelli Landscaping based on their familiarity with the project area. They were currently awarded the contract for the Newport Richey Median Landscaping Project and the Pasco County Median Landscaping Project. So she recommends Morelli Landscaping for this project.
Any questions on this?
You've received 2 bids. What were the bids?
One was $270,118.75 from Morelli Landscaping. The second bid was from Green Construction Technologies for $248,900.
And you're going with the first one, 270, is that right?
Based on the review of the landscaped architect that we worked with on this project to design the plans, she recommended Morelli because of their familiarity with the project area, working with 2 agencies nearby that already have done similar work.
I see.
They're more familiar with the traffic conditions, they're more familiar with the environmental conditions, and they are a locally based company. They operate out of Clearwater. So she felt they would be, both bidders submitted responsible and responsive bids, but it was her recommendation to go with Morelli Landscaping for our project.
It's grant, Doc.
It's grant money.
Grant
Yes,
money.
sir.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Spalding, you said you'd like to speak to this?
Oh, that's okay.
Okay.
If everybody agrees on the grant, I'm fine.
Okay. We're looking for a motion to approve Morelli Landscaping.
Motion, go ahead.
Motion to approve contract award to Morelli Landscaping in the amount of $270,118.75.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Jocelyn as well. Okay, this is for consideration of bid rejection for the Washington Street Pavement Settlement Project. Jocelyn?
Thank you. As City Council will recall, there is a very large pavement settlement on Washington Street that is in need of repair. The city has worked, early last year, we worked with our engineer of record, Florida Design Consultants, to develop plans and specifications to repair that settlement. We advertised this project in December of last year. We advertised for a public bid. We did not receive any bids at that time. We waited and we re-advertised the same project in February of this year. We did receive 2 bids on this project. Our original project budget that was given to us by our engineer was $250,000. Both of the bids that we received far exceeded the project budget. We received a bid from JPR Universal Construction for $523,000. We received another bid from Mac Contracting LLC for $514,544.40, which is more, both bids were more than double what we had originally budgeted. Both bidders submitted responsible and responsive bids, so it's not an issue of the bidders not being qualified. We are a little concerned about the price. We have spoken with a paving company who we believe can get us piggyback contract pricing with another public agency to help bring the price of this project back in line with what we originally budgeted. We had a phone conference with them today to try to work on getting that pricing structure in line with our budget.
And we are hoping to pursue that option to get this project completed, because it's in dire need of completion, but get it more close to the cost that we originally anticipated.
And we'll go back out for public bid again.
We won't need to go out for public bid. We'll piggyback with another agency that has a contract with this company and piggyback off of their pricing to help us get the same type of pricing from a larger agency.
Thank you.
But it will come back to the council for approval.
Yes, it will.
Yes, once we get the final quote, we get all the bid documents
So council
reviewed.
knows that.
Yes, it will come back before council for final approval.
All right. Yeah, I'd like to speak to that, Mr. Bloom or Mr. L.
I'm satisfied, thank you.
All right.
You need a motion to reject the bids,
Yep.
right?
So we are
Yep.
looking for a motion tonight to
reject.
reject the bids that we did receive, so we can pursue other options.
Okay, so we're looking for a motion to reject the bid so we can proceed.
Motion to reject the bid.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Approval for the contract for firework vendors for the Independence Day celebration. We're looking for a motion to approve the contract in the amount of $10,000.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Appointment of a member to the Citizens Advisory Committee. So we're
Mr.
looking-
Mayor, City Council considerations the appointment of a new member, Lisa Burke, to the Citizens Advisory Committee. Action, City Council action is deemed appropriate.
Motion to approve Lisa Burke to the Citizens Advisory Committee.
Can I speak to this, maybe, because I'm not
Sure.
familiar with any of it. We need another member on the, is that it?
Yes, we
on the
do,
CSC?
sir.
And
Several.
are there any other people that would like to sit on that?
I think there were 3 open seats available.
How many?
Right, Claudia? 3, there's currently 3, and we have 1 person that's put in for a seat.
Ms. Burke put in, no one else
Right.
has.
Okay, so the notices have went out?
Yep.
Yes.
And, okay,
Sure.
well, that's all you need to do? Nobody else is interested?
No?
Motion to
Motion to
approve.
approve Lisa Burke to Citizens Committee.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
I have,
Mr. Bloom?
Yeah, I just need to make some kind of rebuttal comment here about the issue that I discussed earlier. There was not a campaign attempt. It was merely a justification for not throwing my nominee under the bus and voting for Mr. Dittmer's nominee or Ms. Sorrell's nominee. It was purely justification, that's all. I'm finished.
All right. Old business, Ms. Sorrell?
I think we pretty much covered all the old business this evening.
Then we're looking for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.